I want to thank everybody for coming out to this very exciting event for the grand opening of the Schmidt Brewery Artist Loft project. We want to thank you again for attending. It's a beautiful day. We hope everybody later will get inside. There's some people who are available to show you a couple of the highlights of the building. Just search out somebody from Dominium and ask them for a tour. For many of you, you were here in January of 2013. It was a little bit colder. I think it was about 70 degrees colder. And the heat in the tent didn't seem to make much difference other than to blow the cold air by everybody real fast. Just in terms of what our agenda for today is, first we're going to have several speakers. We're going to try to move it along, just announce some of the people who have been really helpful in moving this project forward. Then we'll have a ribbon cutting and some group photos. And then inside we'll go after that for some drinks and refreshments. And again, please do ask for a tour. Before we get going, I want to take some time to point out a few things. One, this is the largest project that Dominium has ever been involved in, and we're really pleased that it has come in so well on time. Thank you. It's been 7 years since our first visit, and I tell a story that my partner Mark's oldest child was just conceived at that point, and she is now going into first grade. So that's a long time. It feels even longer to Mark, I can assure you. All the units in this project rented up virtually immediately. The demand for this project, the customers appreciate it, they enjoy the space, they love the neighborhood, they love the community, and they love creating their own community within the artist group. We are proud of the artist amenities, and we hope that you get in and see them today. In particular, I want to there's going to be a number of people who are thanked today, and these people will be thanked again, but I want to point out two in particular, and both are with the City of St. Paul. The first is Mayor Coleman. We appreciate his support throughout the time that this project is being developed. And then most importantly, I want to thank, where is Dave? Dave Thune, who dressed up for the occasion, as you can see. And I've said that Dave is singularly responsible for getting this thing done. There's a story that's told about somebody in the real estate business, and I think it applies to Dave. This is, Dave will do whatever it takes to get something done. He'll beat his head against the wall if he has to. And if that doesn't work, he'll beat your head against the wall. So thank you for beating all those heads, Dave. We're happy to be here today. Thank you.
Well, I have the hard but the very enjoyable task of introducing everyone and trying to keep this running on time. So without delay, I want to introduce Owen Metz. Owen's a developer with us, and Owen has worked on this project with other team members at Dominium and for 7 years. So Owen started with the company 8 years ago, and this is so it's something that we've kind of been focused on. Let's try to get things done a little faster. But with that, I'll introduce Owen Metz.
So real quick, I want to go down the list of the funding partners that helped get this project off the ground and to where it is today. Alliant Capital and MetLife were the tax credit syndicator and investor respectively, and invested over $50 million of equity into the low-income housing tax credits and the federal historic tax credits. And it's just, without them, it's this is like a six-legged stool. You lose any one of the legs, and this whole project would fall apart. And that Alliant and MetLife, along with U.S. Bank, were the two biggest overall providers of financing to this transaction. Cornerstone Real Estate Advisors, unfortunately no one can be here from Cornerstone today, but they invested $25 million in first mortgage financing and tax increment financing. So they provided the permanent financing for this project. U.S. Bank approached $100 million worth of financing for this project. $25 million letter of credit, $22 million in state historic credits that they purchased through Enhanced Historic Credit Partners, and a $50 million construction loan. So you add all that up, and it's approaching $100 million. So I just can't thank them enough for everything they've done to help get this project off the ground. Next is the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. They provided almost $600,000 to reopen Webster Street, which is the street right over there. So we're able to reconnect the grid and get some public transit, public streets through here again. The Metropolitan Council invested $1.25 million for part of the acquisition to help finance the acquisition of the project. Environmental cleanup, one of the big first things we did when we got into here. We spent over $3 million in environmental cleanup, and thanks in no small part to the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, Metropolitan Council, who invested over $1.7 million in 4 grants just for environmental cleanup. And then Ramsey County as well invested over $300,000 to help clean up the site. And Mark mentioned it, the city of St. Paul and the leadership that they have and the financing that they helped provide was just amazing, and can't thank them enough. $1.5 million of CDBG funds, $3 million in TIF, $70 million in tax-exempt bonds, over $30 million in low-income housing tax credits. And in particular, I'd like to call out a few people from the city of St. Paul, some of the PED staff. Al Carlson, who's now retired, and I don't know if he made it today. I guess I hadn't seen it. There he is.
He did. You can see he doesn't wear long pants anymore.
Al, and then Diane Nordquist, who's sitting right there. We're great to work with, very flexible in overcoming some of the difficulties we had in financing this project. Can't thank them enough. And then working with the HPC staff of Amy Spong and Christine Bulwer to get through this complicated historic renovation. The city has some great people that work for them, and we can't thank them enough. Briefly mentioned Enhanced Historic Credit Partners. They were the syndicator and investor and partner with us and helps sail the Minnesota Historic Tax Credits to U.S. Bank. And then finally, the Minnesota Historical Society in the state of Minnesota for over $20 million in Minnesota State Historic Credits. So you add all that up, it's a $130 million redevelopment. We finished on time, got everything leased up fast, and just can't thank all those partners enough. So thank you.
Thank you, Owen. And with after listening to all those different numbers, I was trying to add them up as Owen went along. Kind of adds up to lots of different things with our different funding partners, and we're really thankful for everyone's help and support. And with that, I have the great honor of introducing Mayor Chris Coleman.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, and congratulations to everybody. Of all the things that you could say about this project, my absolute favorite is 100% full with a waiting list. That is a very impressive statistic. It's impressive, but it's not surprising in any way, shape, or form, because this project was done with quality in mind. It was done with a full understanding of the history of the site and recognizing and honoring that history. It was done with an understanding of how important this project was to this neighborhood and to the city of St. Paul. For too long, this facility sat empty. Over the years, it provided a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunity for a lot of families in the city of St. Paul. Among them were some of my relatives that worked here at the brewery. And it was a good history. I like beer. Hopefully we can get a tap room in here somewhere and start brewing a little beer on site one of these days. But the fact of the matter is, we give birth to a new future for this site, a new story of what can happen when you provide great opportunities and great housing for artists and for families and for people to get a foothold. And when you look at the creative juices that flow through this building, the incredible care that was taken to create opportunities for artists to express themselves, whether that is in clay or in paints or in dance or in music, whatever that would be. You think about the impact that this will have for this community and how it will take this already strong neighborhood and make it that much stronger. This already great and historic community and make it that much more fascinating with new stories to come. So to all the staff from planning and economic development that have worked on this, particularly Al's actually 7 years ago, Al's pants were longer. They have shrunk over the years. Kid Hadley gets to take credit because she was the interim director when this project has the ribbon cut. Cecile Bedore before her and her incredible work, the incredible partnerships that made this all happen. To the Ford Road Federation and the neighbors that believed in this project, Ed Johnson and Betty Moran, their constant and eternal belief that this project could rise. And ultimately, and it was already mentioned, to Dave Thune for his vision, his tenacity, and his determination that before he left office, this project would be done. So for those of you that are grateful that Dave's retiring, you can thank this project, because if it hadn't been completed, Dave would still be running for council next year and we'd have him here forever. But a lot of people, let me just kind of conclude by saying, people ask me often, what's the best thing about being mayor, or when I was on the council, what's the best thing about being a city council member? And folks, you're looking at it. To be able to present this gift to this community with the work that we've done and the leadership of the staff that we have, to be able to drive by here for generations to come and to know that I played a role, that Dave Thune played a role, that so many members of this community played a role, is a gift that we are given when we are in these positions. So I am very proud of the work that went on to make this thing happen. I am very excited for the future of this community. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. That's without the support of the mayor and everyone else here, and including Dave, we wouldn't be here today. So with great pleasure, I get to introduce State Representative Carlos Mariardi.
Good afternoon. I will be very brief because some of you are sitting directly in the sun and we're sitting in the shade here, so we have all the time in the world. You know, the mayor actually captured a lot of what I wanted to be able to say, speaking about the synergy that can happen with government, with private sector, with community members, and probably most critically important, visionary folks like the folks at Dominion who can just conceptualize. I walked through this building 15 years ago when we were still doing ethanol out of this place. Remember that? And I remember thinking, you know, we could do something really cool in this place, something really big, but I had no idea what that could be. Dominion certainly did. Years ago, I met a third generation German American whose grandfather came here as an immigrant, turn of the century, the last century. And of course, the Schmidt Brewery, you know, was founded by a Bavarian immigrant. And he had a hard time finding work, didn't speak English, wandered over to this business, and the old man gave him a job. 3 generations later, that family was firmly entrenched in this community. They sent that grandchild off to college, who started his own business, and at that point was already beginning his retirement, had definitely been part of building a strong community here in St. Paul. These are the things that this place has provided. This is the things that this place can continue to provide. You know, a lot of folks say that the most important times in our lives, and the mayor hinted at this, is our births and marriages, newness and new relationships. We have a tremendous opportunity here with all the residents and the people that are going to be involved with this facility to do something new, to build relationships that are meaningful like they were meaningful for that German immigrant well over 100 years ago. It makes our city stronger, it makes our society stronger, it makes all of us stronger. So thank you all for, you know, my job was just to vote for all the right legislation to make sure that we have some of the tools available to make this happen, but you all are the ones that really rolled up your sleeves and made it happen, so thank you so much.
Without the state of Minnesota passed a state historic tax credit in 2010, and without that bill, this project wouldn't have been possible. So thank you for all your support, and thanks to everyone else. With that, I get the great pleasure of introducing County Commissioner Rafael Ortega.
Well, all I have to say is, wow. I walked in there and I was blown away. I had not been in here before. It is just totally beautiful. You know, it's been said by my predecessors that, you know, this is truly about government working together, public-private partnership, and that's what community expects of us. And when we deliver something like this, it really, really makes a difference, and community has faith in the work we do. The other thing is, when I'm looking at, I sort of gave myself a self-guided tour to get updated on what's been happening. I drive by it almost every day, but you really don't focus. And that is, you know, one of the things that makes St. Paul really great is that we have all these beautiful buildings, and we've kept them. All these historic, iconic buildings, whether it's the Landmark Center or the Union Depot or the Schmidt Brewery. And it's something we should all be so proud of. And lastly, what really resonated with me was the mayor's comments. I gotta tell you, I am so happy that the Schmidt Brewery is completed. Dave Thune will call me every couple of months with a different scheme and a different angle of how the county could participate in getting this done. And, you know, and some of it was, you know, come on, Dave, let's get down, let's get grounded here on some of this stuff. But he kept trying and he kept going, and tenacity is the correct word to describe Dave Thune. And you know, you need a champion. And Dave Thune has been that champion. So congratulations, Dave.
Well, I don't think Dave needs an introduction, but I'll introduce Councilmember Dave Thune and Dave's support on this. And I don't know how many times I'd get phone calls from David saying, are you sure you can't come back and take another look at it, and we'll do it this way or do it that way? And without his undying kind of, I'll call it encouragement or persistence or, you know, intimidation, we wouldn't be here today.
I hope people say such nice things about me when I'm dead. I can't tell you how happy I am. This, Chris, you're right. I'd have to run for another term, and there's a lot of people who would be very happy that I'm not. But there's lots of good people in the wings waiting to replace me. And you know, the cool thing is that my replacements, me and the people who came before me, Chris Coleman, whose family started out here in West 7th. West 7th is a great neighborhood full of regular folks that don't always wear suits, people that work blue-collar jobs, people that are retired, people that are elderly. We've got judges, we've got attorneys, kind of everybody that you could ever imagine lives in this neighborhood, and it's a great neighborhood. And without that neighborhood, this would not have happened. The thank yous have gone out to so many people that really deserve it. Way back in 1990, right after I took office, the brewery shut down. And it took hundreds of people from West 7th Street that hounded and harassed Heilman to agree to sell it to a local owner, who also needs to be thanked. Bruce Hendry, who isn't here, and he took some blows because of the ethanol plant, but without Bruce, this place would have been a parking lot. And so all along the way, the West 7th Street Federation, Ed Johnson, Betty Moran, Dave Wickheiser was the president, Merritt Brock is the current president. All these people worked as a community, and they worked together. We pooled our brain power and thought up ideas, and then when Dominion walked into the scene, it was, voila, it came together. I didn't have to hound you that much. They're really good. They're really good. I didn't have to do anything. They just went ahead and pulled this off. And when we lit up the Schmidt sign back during German Fest, where actually my band was playing right there and I got heat stroke. It was so hot. But when we lit up that sign, the number of people from the community that came here to watch it was just, it just made you feel good. And now we've got all sorts of things happening. Ed is working to get the Rathskeller restored and businesses and things in there. Craig Cohen is here somewhere, and he's got the keg house over there, which is going to be an incredible project. Which you went hard on some of the money, I think, yesterday, didn't you, Craig? Anyway, he's committed to this. This is a great neighborhood. This entire complex is a jewel, and I can only thank everyone that's been here and been here for us to do it. And it wouldn't have been, this is the last thing I'm going to say. This project wouldn't have happened. There wouldn't be the faith in this kind of a community, which is, again, a great community, if we didn't have the men and women that work for the city. And I think we saw a little bit of that last night when our police department finalized the actions to take down this guy that murdered another police officer. Everyone in the city should be proud of the work that the city of St. Paul does. I know I am, and even after I'm not in office, I'm going to be proud of it and take credit when I can. So thank you, all of you, because I know all of you had a great role in this, and thank you.
I used to represent a little bit of this neighborhood back when I was a county commissioner, and I really want to give kudos as well to the community that has been working on this, had a vision for this, really asked a lot of people to get involved, and when you can see all of the different partners here, they were successful, weren't they, in bringing everyone together. I have a funny story. When I first came to Habitat for Humanity, which is another job I have, back in 2005, I had a very eager, enthusiastic board member that came to me and said, I think Habitat should help and develop the Schmidt Brewery. And I just about fainted. And I said, no, that is like way too big of a project for us to work on. But I am so pleased that Dominium was able to lead this and be here. The Met Council began making grants for this project in 2008. We have made over $3.7 million in grants for this project through our Livable Communities Act program, and those grants come from your property taxpayers, property taxes, so thank you, property taxpayers. And what they're for is to do exactly this. It's to build community. It's to clean up land. It's to invest in affordable housing. It's to make connections to transit, and this project just hits all of those. So we're really proud to be a part of that, and proud that we have a program like the Livable Communities Act that can help support this type of project. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Haig. I didn't know I was going to get my exercise doing the Stairmaster here all day long. But with that, I'd like to introduce Department of Economic and Development Commissioner Katie Clark-Sieben.
Well, congratulations to all the partners. This truly is a remarkable day, and remarkable that we get to finally open this new space. DEED contributed over $1 million towards the development through our redevelopment funds as well as our contamination cleanup funds, two very important programs that are at work every day. And I think one important additional note is the number of jobs that were created through the development of this project. Not only does this project provide permanent employment and affordable housing, but 1,400 workers contributed to the redevelopment and on average earned over $50 per hour with benefits. That's $26 million of wages and benefits paid to the workers on site, or the equivalent of over 250 full-time jobs. So thank you to all the partners. Thank you to all the partners who made this project possible, and to all the workers who put the time and effort into making this such a beautiful, beautiful place. Thank you.
Next, I get the great pleasure of introducing Dan Smith from U.S. Bank. And Owen mentioned earlier all of U.S. Bank's commitment to this project. Without U.S. Bank, we wouldn't be here today. So with that, Dan.
Thank you, Mark. I know the last thing anyone wants to do after listening to speeches from several public officials is listen to a banker talk. So I'll keep things brief. But I'm just absolutely thrilled to be here today representing U.S. Bank. Owen mentioned our commitment to this project totals right around $95 million. And I'm also proud because I'm a resident of St. Paul, a full lifetime resident, and I just think this is one of the coolest things that it's ever happened in my hometown. You know, you don't put $95 million into a project unless you have an awful lot of faith in the team that's working on it, and I'd just like to recognize Dominium and Weiss Construction, two outstanding companies, and you've done a terrific job with this project. I'd also like to thank the people who worked on this at the bank. I'll name a few of them, but this is by no means fully inclusive. Kate Cunningham, I know she's here. John Nolan, Tyler Manning, Robert Espelond, Barb Richards, Leah Schumann, and Liz St. Julian. And then last, before this starts sounding too much like an Oscar speech, I'd just like to make three observations. You know, we are lucky enough to do these types of projects throughout the country, and I really think that this project is about as transformative as any I've been involved in my career. I think the reuse of an industrial site, the Commissioner Sieben mentioned the construction jobs. I think this is going to have a huge effect on this neighborhood for years to come. And then the second point I'd like to make is just the need for affordable housing. I think 260 units leased up pretty much instantaneously. And I think when we all get inside, we'll see why, because it's a beautiful project. But that also says, you know, there's a tremendous need out there for affordable housing. And then last, I know Mark mentioned it, but the impact of the state historic tax credit was huge. There's no way this project would have worked without it. And you know, shortly after it was passed, this project became viable, and here we are today. So thank you.
Next, I have the great pleasure of introducing Matt Sheedy. Matt's the Director of Tax Investments for MetLife. Matt actually came out about 4 years ago, and we toured the project, and we went all the way up to the top, and we got up there, and Matt turned to me and said, "Now, are you sure you guys have this construction budget handled?" I said, "Oh, no, we'll be okay." And so here we are now, and I'm glad to say we made it through. Thank you, Matt.
MetLife is proud to be partners with Alliant Capital and Dominium through our $50 million equity investment in the Schmidt Brewery Lofts. I expect that the investment will be successful, and if everything goes as planned, we'll be partners for nearly 20 years. Something more lasting, though, has been accomplished with redevelopment. The project created 260 affordable, high-quality apartments. The brewery site, with its tower and sign, have been preserved. The project connects people who live, visit, or just pass by with the history of St. Paul in a way that is immediately experienced. Think of what would have been lost if this had just been a clear site and someone built garden apartments on it and named them like the Schmidt Brewery Garden Apartments. So something very special has been accomplished through this project. The quality of the homes that have been created, the vitality of this neighborhood make me very confident that the lofts will operate for as long or longer than the brewery. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming out. Again, a lot of participants and stakeholders were required to, you know, pull this off and end up with the successful development that we have right now. And when you have a lot of stakeholders, sometimes you forget to mention some of them that have participated. And I want to mention that BMO Harris was an active stakeholder participant in this organization. So I'd like to say thank you very much for your help with that. Dominium, I must say, is really proud to have had the opportunity to be able to get involved with such a historic St. Paul landmark and be part of the rebirth of this property. And it's amazing to see the changes, but it's also beautiful to see that this particular property will live on for another 100 years and be a contributing neighbor within this St. Paul community. We're here today to actually celebrate. And as such, we have refreshments inside, and I want to mention 4 groups that are sponsors for those refreshments. That would be Winthrop and Weinstein, Doherty and Company, U.S. Bank, and Alliant Capital. 4 major stakeholders in this project. You can thank them for the refreshments a little bit later. And then also, I just want to thank everybody for having taken the time out of your busy schedules to come out here this afternoon and celebrate with us and rejoice in the successful redevelopment of the Schmidt Brewery property. Thank you.
Dave said he wanted 15 more seconds, and then after that, we're done. So again, that's the best news all day. We're going to do a quick ribbon cutting after this, and David, here you go.
I was bad. I forgot 2 things that I wanted to say that I got excited. One, I want to thank all the men and women that worked on this project. St. Paul's always been a union town, and we produced union labor, the building and construction trades that actually built this, and the quality and craftsmanship that you see inside. And then second of all, I just want to welcome some 500 new constituents, not only to my ward, but to the city of St. Paul. They've showed confidence in this neighborhood, and they are certainly welcome. We look forward to seeing them all around the neighborhood. Thanks a lot.
All right.